Basketball Talk Pro. My name is Ron Ekker. You know, when a person or coach takes it upon himself to raise to different levels, aspire to, for one reason or another, to greater things, might be just the love of competition or the inner self who wants to prove that they're capable of greater things. When that happens, a process takes place, and part of that process is constantly extending, reaching more. When you extend yourself, you actually build a new set of skills, a new attitude, a new perspective, and this is a inner change that stays with you, and regardless of what walk of life you're in and what you do in the future. None of us, can predict that. It takes a constant effort on one's part to make that kind of extending that brings out characteristics and skills, attitudes in yourself that just literally lift you to the heights that you want to aspire to. But today we're going to try to show you what the greatest team in basketball at this time looks like. I want you to see what their statistical measures are in all areas. What sets them apart to such a degree that in the highest level of competition they can reach higher and win the NBA championship. I'm speaking, of course, of San Antonio. And it's a team that personally am glad that we have a chance to look at them, analyze them, and begin to see what they're doing that can bring about this kind of success. So today what I'm doing is taking a look at, with you, what San Antonio did last year during the regular season, not in the playoffs, but in the regular season. Those 82 games, that grueling 6 months of 2 to 3 games a week and practices and all of the things that they go through, travel. What were they like? Was this just an anomaly that they wanted? I think you'll see from the statistics sheet that we show you that had you seen the sheet at the very end of the season, you could have predicted that San Antonio was going to win the NBA championship. You could have predicted, though nobody really believed it, that they could beat Miami in the finals. So take a good look at this. We'll explain things as we go along with it. I would recommend that you use full screen. When we do these things, it's difficult if you're using a small screen to get the numbers big enough so you understand them. So use a full screen so you get the benefit of everything that is on the video. So to do that, we go to the board. I don't know what to call it exactly, but I just keep calling it the board so that you can see the statistical analysis and also hear how everything came about. So let's go to the board now. As I said in the introduction, I think it's very important to study the best. Unfortunately, a lot of people study the mediocre instead of the best. And this year, for sure, San Antonio was, like most years, very top team. And it'll do us well to take a look at what makes up that kind of a team. What does this sheet look like for the outstanding team that San Antonio was compared to what it looks like on your team? But it gives you a standard to work from and to uh, uh, utilize in your own evaluation of your team and your opponents' teams. This can tell you a lot. I'd like to start. There's three areas that I look at right away, and they're all areas that I've discussed from time to time as important areas in winning and losing. In other videos. So the first one is field goal percentage. I've always said right from the get-go that field goal percentage, the difference, determines the winning team 80% of the time. Well, this is the number we're using here because of its value. In our statistics course, I spent a whole lesson going over the fact that with the three-point shot, there's really now three ways that field goal percentage is being evaluated or exposed, and this is one of them. The normal one just doesn't work as well anymore. And then there's effective field goal percentage. This is one that I chose. This is a value. In other words, every time San Antonio shot, they made 1.07 points. See, they had a difference here, a pretty nice difference of 0.09. I don't ever remember seeing an NBA team with a number that high, 1.07. But let's keep moving on. That's the first place I look, right there. I think you'll see this is regular season statistics. You'll see you could have pretty much predicted the outcome of the finals from the regular season numbers. This is their OER and their DER. There's all kinds of fluff and clutter that's brought into statistic sheets now with different names. But OER has been around. They're all doing OER. They just put different names on it. OER has been around since in the 60s and 70s. So I stay with the true name for it because I remember when the guy who developed this, and we all used it and started to learn from it. But this is very good difference. Point in the NBA, 0.07. That over the season they were better. This number right here is the number of possessions. This is their pace. This is a pretty fast pace in the NBA, and probably this number would be different when you have a 40-minute clock and a 32-minute clock, but in time you'd be able to also see what was a pretty good pace, but not an outstandingly fast pace. So those two right there tell me a lot that I need to know. I can make assumptions from these numbers. I was a little bit surprised here. That's not a real good defensive DER. And San Antonio is a good defensive team. My guess is that this pace may be just a hair high for them.
and they were giving up too many uncontested shots. That's my assumption from what I'm looking at here. Now I want to slide over to Miami. I've got them put together here so we can compare, and I'll try to get this in line. Well, I guess I can't quite do it. Now this is Miami. Miami was at 1. In other words, 1 point for every attempt. They had a pretty good gap of .06 also, and .94 is pretty good defense. Their OER was 1, which is good. The DER was .96, but the gap, you see, was a lot smaller than San Antonio's. Here's their pace: 102 possessions a game, over 82 games. That's how many. That's moving up and down the floor pretty good. I would doubt many teams had any faster pace than Miami did, and that pace may account, as you go through this, for some vulnerability. This is pretty vulnerable to me. So we're a team in the finals. Um, and the pace may have something to do with that. I want to move down now to the third blue area, defensive rebounds and steals. As you know, or if you don't know, you would learn in the course, is that this particular number, the difference, the team that has the most defensive rebounds and steals wins 78% of the time. Theirs was okay. But let's look at, there's a small margin though. Let's look at San Antonio's, 41.3 to 38.9. These numbers are always going to be close, by the way. But this is a pretty dominating number, and it was a pretty dominating number compared to what Miami was getting. So there you have 3 areas. If you didn't know, if at the end of 82 games, if you would have looked at this and compared them, I think you would have had to predict that San Antonio was going to beat Miami in the finals, and it did. And so those are key areas, but there's so much more throughout this that you can get involved in. And I'm going to try to point out some of those things to you right now, just so that you have a pretty good idea of using statistics like this. Now, we have a whole lesson in our course on this very chart right here. And so you would learn how to do it, um, and how to study it. I'll be honest, when I was coaching, my assistants and I would get this ready on our opponent, I mean, I was like a kid in a candy shop because I couldn't wait to get my hands on it. But I always had to wait until I could lock the door and no one was gonna disturb me. And I would go over this with a fine-tooth comb. I'd go over every player, what their per minutes were. By the way, if you don't know, this is their per minutes down here, what they would do in 1 minute. I mean, I found out so much about that team in maybe an hour study that the rest came easy. Then when we went to the film work, I had a sense of what I was looking for. It helped me a lot. But let's take a look. I want to show you some things. This points per attempt. Look down through here. Everybody on their team was 1 point above. That's amazing. They only had 1, 2, and 3, and of course this is very close to 1. That's Duncan. Uh, but it was amazing to me to see how consistent their team was, and even their ratings. They only have one player, and he didn't play much. That was under 13. I mean, you would see even Miami has a number of players under 13, lower. This is really consistent, balanced a team. Uh, and as I look through here, if I didn't know who they were, you gave me this sheet on any team, a college team, a high school team, my first reaction would be that this team used a system, and that the system was a dominating factor in their play. And the San Antonio certainly fits into that. They're very system minded. And even comments during the finals by the players. I think it was Parker that got hurt or twisted his ankle a little bit. But the reaction from the other players was, yes, we want him to play, but we got guys who come in, and that we win with the system. We don't win with one player. So I thought to myself, this is really put together well. This is an outstanding coaching job. I'm glad that Popovich got Coach of the Year for his job. Most of the time, those writers don't know what they're doing when they choose that guy. But this time they were right on, because he did a remarkable job in this season. He had some old players. Look at the minutes they were averaging. Duncan 29, Parker 29, Ginobili 22. He was very carefully saving his players for the playoffs. Now, just another little thing I'll show you that you might find interesting. LeBron James. He dominated these numbers, by the way. He led the team in rebounding, led the team in assists. It wouldn't surprise me if and you can see he did, led him in steals. I mean, he was a dominating factor. His rating was really good for that position, but not great. But this was the winning profile, which is based on shooting percentage and defensive rebounds and steals, the 3 areas that determine winning. He was very high on. But the rest of the team, had some fallacies through here. These were not really good scores. This is a nice score for this guy, Leonard. If you watch the finals, he came through in some big games. Very nice player for a young player. I'm sure that this number is going to go up as he plays more. But let's go back to LeBron. The discussion is always LeBron or Michael. Which one was the better? Now, a lot of people are saying LeBron was better than Michael. But I'll tell you, on this same rating sheet, when Michael was in his prime, he was in the 30s. Remarkable for his position. And he maintained that. In fact, he did decline, but he was still almost at this level when he was playing at 40 or 41. Amazing how good he really was. But for a college team and a high school team, you don't have to worry about this. But in the pros, you have to worry about when players start to decline. This rating system I've found to be very effective in showing the decline, because the decline is not like dropping off a cliff. It's a little bit at a time. Maybe a few less steals, a few less rebounds, a drop of 1% on your field goal. You don't notice it. And that, starts to build up over years. You can pretty well tell uh, on this rating, if you follow it, track it from year to year, when they're starting down. But Michael was still competing at that level in his 40s. But there was another player that was even more outstanding to me. It's John Stockton. John Stockton, for a point guard, year after year, all through his career, dominated in the numbers. He was in the 20s, and that's very high for his position. He would be 25, 26. John Stockton also played when he was in his 40s, and he didn't take any years off. Michael did. But you know what was amazing about him? This number never hardly changed. It stayed the same year after year. It was so consistent. And even when he was 40, 41 years old, he was still in the 20s. At his position, remarkable. So there's just a lot of things in here. If you want to learn to study these types of charts, because they give you so much information. Joe Lopez helped me with this. He actually put it all together. And I asked him right off, did you learn anything? And of course he did. He saw a lot of things that are going to help him as a coach. But if you do this day after day after day, you get very good at it. And you can find out a lot of things. But here, study the best. Don't study. Well, study everybody. But this is where you want to go. This is what sets your standards. This is where you want to be. Down this kind of stuff. If you're not, now you got to start making some changes. You can do this. Maybe the numbers will be a little different because of the minutes that you play. But all of this is possible for you as a coach. But I'll guarantee you, if you're going to have this kind of stuff, numbers, you're going to have a system. And the sooner you can start learning to have a system, the sooner your success is going to start to generate. Well, excuse me for the cough, but I'm doing this very early in the morning. This is what I wanted to show you, and I hope you get something out of it. If nothing else, what I hope is that you become aware of it and you start to work with it, and you find yourself developing as a coach. So that's the study of San Antonio and Miami, and it's very good information. Well, that's it for today. Hope you got a lot out of this. I get a lot out of it just talking about it. But you know, keep working on things like this. Take the course, and you'll get a lot of information like this throughout it. So that's it, and we'll see you next time.